Can ChatGPT act as a therapist? The other day, I was scrolling through social media and saw a set of prompts that said, use ChatGPT as your therapist. Follow these 7 prompts to dive deep and psychoanalyze yourself using ChatGPT. Well, let's find out if that can actually work. I'm Jonathan with Apex Counseling, and we're going to investigate it and find out if that's actually possible. So technology is truly amazing today, and large language models like AI and ChatGPT and all of this stuff really can do some amazing things, but they have a fair number of limitations too. And I've usually been a big fan of let's find out what it can do, let's test. So since this is actually my subject area where I'm an expert, this is the place where I'm qualified to figure out, can ChatGPT actually go deep on this subject area? So out of all of the prompts, I selected act like a cognitive behavior therapist. Help me identify negative thought loops or self-sabotaging patterns I'm not consciously aware of. Use my recent situation of, insert situation. Show me how to reframe my thinking instantly. And I selected that one because it's the one that told ChatGPT to specifically attempt to act like a therapist and a cognitive behavior therapist, which I am both. So I felt like that was probably the best one for me to run the test on. So what we won't do, we'll probably edit this a fair bit so you don't have to just sit and watch me type a bunch of things and then read the responses. So we'll probably edit this some so you don't have to watch that. But let's go ahead and get started. So I've copied my prompt into there. We're going to paste it and we're going to see what ChatGPT says. All right, on the surface, this is not a bad start. So what it's doing here is giving me a few ideas. It says, step 1, describe the situation. I actually already described the situation. I selected a social anxiety situation because I see a lot of clients with social anxiety, so that seemed a pretty safe one. I'm basically using one specific client situation, so I'm not going to say some of it out loud for obvious reasons for confidentiality, but so it says describe the situation. I already did that, so that's already not the best of starts. Then it does give me some other things that are pretty good. Basic CBT stuff. Identify the negative thought loop. That's correct. Uncover underlying beliefs. That is also correct because sometimes the negative thoughts at the surface level are not really the negative thoughts. They're the important ones. Then it gives me an instant reframe toolkit. How to take the old thought and how to do a reframe. Its reframes are okay. Some of them are good, like this one where the old thought is, that was awkward, I messed up, and the reframe is, everyone has awkward moments. It doesn't define the whole interaction. That one's pretty good. I shouldn't feel anxious, reframed to anxiety is just my brain trying to protect me. I don't need to obey it. It's not a bad one, but this is a good example of one you'd want to find out more before you just lob that at somebody, because some people can do that specific reframe. Some people struggle with it. So it's got some right ideas, but already I can tell that it's not going to do a good job of necessarily tailoring this to the individual level, and I'm sensing that it's not going to do a great job of sequencing things. Because especially for cognitive behavior therapy is a very skills-based model. You learn to change your thinking and deploy that as a skill. Anytime you're teaching somebody a skill, you have to sequence things correctly. So if I'm going to teach somebody the skill of basketball, well, I can't start with dunks and fadeaway three-pointers. I have to teach them bounce ball once. And then if they can do that, then it's like bounce ball continuously without stopping. And not bounce ball while moving. And then you add on until somebody starts becoming proficient at the overarching skill of basketball. So as I'm looking at this, it's got right stuff, but it's not sequencing it in a way that assumes that a person doesn't know much about changing their thoughts. So we'll see what happens as I go deeper. So let's look, how am I going to address this next one? All right, so let's try some stuff. So since it asked for a specific situation, I went deeper on the situation. Every time I go to work, I'm afraid my boss is going to negatively judge me. Please help me not be afraid of this. And as I'm doing these prompts, I'm trying to do them in such a way that I think a person would really engage with it. So I started with the prompt as it was given in the social media post, but I've used ChatGPT somewhat extensively, so I've gotten good at the prompts. I don't want to behave as if the person's automatically good at the prompts, so I'm deliberately making them /good, but not the best of prompts, and so that's why this one is fairly brief, because I'm going to try and engage with it like I think another human being would. All right, so There's my prompt. Every time I go to work, I'm afraid my boss is going to negatively judge me. Please help me not be afraid of this. And it does some okay stuff here. It gives an empathy statement, so I guess that's therapy-like. Now, it's starting to repeat steps already. It's not deepening it a lot. It's just giving me different surface level steps. So I see step one, identify the automatic thought, which again, correct. Challenge the thought. So let's notice here. What specific evidence do I have that they're judging me negatively? Is it possible I'm misreading neutral behavior as negative? Have they given me any positive feedback I'm ignoring? These are actually decent questions. So if a person is already walking in with the skill of knowing how to change their thoughts, this might be somewhat okay. I don't know that that would work well for somebody who needs extensive assistance trying to change their thoughts. Let's see what else it gives us. Reframe the thought instantly. That's ambitious, but that is what I asked for. I did ask for help me reframe my thinking instantly. So, original thought. My boss probably thinks I'm failing. Instant reframe. I feel like I'm being judged. That doesn't make it true. Notice that's very similar to one of the ones previous. They're disappointed in me. And the instant reframe. I'm not in their head. I can't know what they're thinking. And again, these are similar to the ones before, and they're not bad. But what if that doesn't help the person feel better? Here in a second, we're going to see if ChatGPT can help me deepen this. I'm going to pretend as if this is not really working too well. I need further and more granular help. Now, back to sequencing. It's already having me try behavior experiments. Step 5, try a behavioral experiment. Your brain won't believe the new thought until it sees proof. Try this. Go a full workday without over-explaining yourself or apologizing unnecessarily. Man, that is a big action for somebody who's socially anxious. So if we have somebody who does that a lot and ChatGPT's challenges, now do a full 8 hours of not doing that behavior at all. At some point we would work up to that, but that is way out of sequence. I would never guess that a client would be able to do that automatically, because if they can just do that, if that's the advice and they can just do it, they probably don't need the help of a therapist or of a pseudo therapist like this anyway. So all this stuff's okay, but again, it's all surface level. Let's try, which thing am I going to address? All right, so it asked me a bunch of stuff. I'm going to focus on the automatic thought for this one. So let's type some stuff in. So it wants me to identify an automatic thought out of a lot of those steps. There's 5 or 6 or 7 steps. The automatic thought is that he's going to judge me. The evidence for this is that he keeps correcting my work, so obviously he is judging me, and this is causing anxiety. So let's see if it can help me further and break this down more granular. I'm starting to suspect it's not going to be able to. There's the thought. It addresses the thought that I just gave it. Very good. Let's break that down. It's asking decent questions. Are the questions harsh, personal, or excessive? However, that question by itself might take up half of a real therapy session. And here's why. A person with social anxiety is not necessarily going to have a really clear idea of whether or not any correction is harsh, personal, or excessive. Their framework for that is often very skewed. So just lobbing that single question at somebody with no follow-up, that by itself is going to potentially create a problem, because a person with social anxiety is pretty much going to answer that yes, they are harsh, personal, or excessive, or they're going to answer it something adjacent to yes. So one of the things I'm noticing is that as I do this, ChatGPT has no ability, let's pretend this is a therapy session. ChatGPT has no ability to focus a therapy session and really zero in on a single spot and work on it. It's great at creating a list. And in fact, that's what I use it for whenever we use it in our business. We'll use it for certain list stuff and other things, but it clearly can't move past that in an area where it needs to, because it's not helping to focus the session. It's not helping to really help a person examine a single spot, which in a real therapy session might take 10, 20, 30 minutes, might take the whole session. All right, it's having me reframe again. This has been on every single list. And again, it's changing the words slightly. Now we have an old interpretation and an alternative interpretation. What did this say above? So there's old and alternative, and then above there's original thought and instant reframe. And then what was the other one? Was there one above it? Old thought reframe. It's giving me the exact same tool multiple times, but it's not going any deeper on it. It's not catching on that I'm not understanding. So now I'm going to make it try, and I'm going to try and help it and basically indicate that I needed to focus further on this one thing and go a little deeper with it instead of just saying, oh, reframe your thoughts. So what it's doing right now is basically giving you an idea, but it's not teaching anything about how to do this. So, all right, try and help it out here and give it a chance to behave well. All right, so here's what we put. I don't understand how that alternative interpretation is supposed to make me feel better. Sure, it's his job to help me improve, but I don't see how that means he's not judging me. Because remember, that's the entire thing is a person's anxious about being judged with social anxiety. And I don't understand how thanking him for the feedback is supposed to make me feel better. So I also addressed this behavioral thing. So it at least complimented me. That's a very honest and insightful reaction. And so it acknowledges you're not wrong. He may be judging you. Fair enough. That's good. Now, how are you going to help me with this? All right, the real CBT reframe isn't about denying judgment. It's about changing what it means. Painful thought and more liberating belief. It's doing the exact same thing. It's just changing the words each time. He's judging me, and that means I'm failing. And the more liberating belief is he might be judging me, but that's about his perception, not my worth. And that goes back to one of the ones from previous. That's technically correct, but it's not really addressing the fact that this person is having difficulty arriving at that idea. So let me armchair quarterback as if this was my session. And like I said, I'm borrowing some clients here. So if I was having trouble with a person doing a reframe in this way, the thing we would then spend a ton of time on is instead of just, oh, just do this reframe, is figuring out what does it mean to be judged? If somebody critiques you, what does that mean? Does that mean something about you as a person? Does that mean something about you insofar as you'll ever be successful? Does that mean something about you insofar as your skill level? What meaning are you placing on this, first off? And notice it is not, I don't think, it is not inviting me to do that exploration. It's just handing me reframes without figuring out what am I thinking and therefore what reframe will be good. So, and now I'm noticing it is literally just recycling the same tool, which is the tool I asked for at the beginning. But even that's a classical therapy difficulty because sometimes a person comes in and they say, here's what I want and need. And sometimes it is up to the therapist to figure out, oh, the thing you want isn't actually the thing you need. We need to be working on this instead. A good parallel example is very nearly every time when somebody comes in for couples counseling, they say, we want to work on communication. Guess how many times communication is the real issue? Because actually, they're communicating too well. They really dislike each other, and they have become very effective and efficient at communicating that way too much. Communication is not the problem. In this case, I asked for a reframe, and what ChatGPT is not figuring out is that I don't need the reframe yet. I need to understand what am I even putting on myself when there's the possibility somebody is judging me. So the more I'm doing this, the more I can tell we're just going to recycle at the surface level. So I'm going to try and, again, help it go deeper and help it have a chance to assist me. So what am I going to put here? All right, what I went with was, how do I just decide not to need someone else's approval? Because that's what it's really implying with each of these reframes, that, oh, just decide that it's fine if they don't approve of you because it doesn't mean anything to your self-worth or whatever some of the other ones was saying. So how do I just decide not to need someone else's approval? It's good at complimenting me on my question. Each time it gives me a compliment, so it's compliment to me this time. This is one of the deepest, most important questions you can ask. That's true. So good job. It does grasp what therapy might look like. It just can't deepen it at all. So let's see. How do I just decide? And then let's break this down like a CBT therapist would with honesty and practical tools. Well, you're giving honesty and practical tools, but you're definitely not doing it like a CBT therapist would. That's a bit ambitious of you there, ChatGPT. So it's saying needing approval equals seeking safety. How is this related to my question? So it's trying to educate me that I'm really seeking safety. Fair enough. I had to read the paragraph. So yes, it's telling me that I'm seeking safety by seeking approval. Fair enough. That's actually not bad. You start by noticing the pattern, not fixing it. So it's inviting me to just notice that I'm hungry for somebody else's approval. Well, that's why I'm here. I already told you I was having that pattern and it's really causing me a problem. You replace the question. Hold on. Let me go back up here. It says you replace the question. Instead of asking, do they think I'm good enough? Try asking, am I living in alignment with my values right now? Now, it says you replace the question as if it previously referenced a question. It did not. So it's basically, I don't know if it's hallucinating that it said that before and it really didn't, or what it's doing here. But notice that that is basically just a complete restatement of all of the reframes from previous with yet again different words, excuse me. Tool, approval detox practice. Try this once a day. Do something small without trying to impress anyone. Speak honestly in a meeting, wear something for yourself, write an email without over editing. The client that I'm replicating this off of, that would be completely out of reach. And so all the behavioral tools, again, it's going out of sequence. It's doing things that are too big. They're not wrong. We would eventually work to these things in therapy. But if I'm starting with this, so let me read this. So I don't think I'm going to give it any more prompts. It's clear that we're just going to cycle at this surface level forever. Now, here's the problem with suggesting that ChatGPT can act as an effective therapist, because if I'm reading this and I really do have this pain point of social anxiety, and I really think that other people are judging me, and by extension, probably I'm thinking I'm not good enough, this is actually going to be way more harmful than helpful because it is giving me correct things. It has the ring of truth to it. And the problem with that, since it's not sequencing it well, which will not be obvious to everyone, is that it's telling me true things. And since I won't be able to do them because it can't help me figure out how, there's a good chance I'm actually going to feel worse, because now it's going to be like, well, shoot, told me how to do it and I still can't do it. I must suck way worse than I ever even imagined I did. So, real talk, I started this off kind of suspecting ChatGPT would not really be able to act as a therapist. It does ask decent questions. I'll give it, that's not bad. And that's what's accessible to its large language model, because it can scour the internet and see people asking good questions. There's not a lot of good examples of good therapy on the internet for it to scour, and so it really just has difficulty doing anything other than asking good questions or repeating rote stuff that you would find in self-help books. So for our question, can ChatGPT act as a therapist? No, at least not on this example. To be fair, I ran one experiment that has not gone very well, and so to say, oh, obviously it cannot do this, doing it off one experiment and one prompt, that's maybe not the best of science, but certainly it's a beginning. And my suspicion is that if I did this with all 7 prompts or found 15 more, we would end up with the same thing. So if you need to go deep on yourself about something, this is probably not the way to do it. I would not encourage people to use therapy prompts and use ChatGPT as your pocket therapist. Great for generating ideas. If you already know some CBT skills and you don't want to go back to your therapist and you want to pop in and just say, hey, ChatGPT, how should I do this? It might give you an okay idea, but I don't think I'd encourage it, because it's not going to spot deep level stuff. It doesn't understand how to ask good questions to deepen your exploration and then to deepen your ability to challenge your thoughts. It certainly can't project, here's what a person might be thinking, and therefore let me get ahead of it and say, hey, is this maybe what you're experiencing instead of this thing you originally reported? It can't do that at all. So there's a lot of things that a therapist would do that it really is just not good at. It actually can't express empathy. It's not done bad with expressing empathy, which is interesting. I would have assumed a machine would be worse at that, but it actually did that part reasonably well. So props to that. Is there anything else it did well? Because I feel like I don't want to rip on it completely if it doesn't deserve it. It asked good questions. It showed empathy, made empathy statements is really the better way to frame that. Makes good lists, can't deepen anything. So in conclusion, it would seem that this will not work to psychoanalyze yourself to any depth whatsoever. It will work if you wanted to say, what are some basic self-help tips for reframing thoughts? That would be an okay prompt, because that's what it's doing anyway, even when I'm trying to get it to go deep. If I was to make up a few things you might choose to use this for if you wanted to use it on yourself, what are some good behavioral habits for fill in the blank? It'll give you some. It clearly can't order them. You would not want to use that and think that, oh, this is definitely where I should start, because it could be starting in the middle like it did here. It was giving behavioral tips that I would view as things that we would be hoping to achieve by the midpoint of therapy, and it's starting with them. So clearly it can't sequence, but it does say correct things to do You just got to be aware that it might not be giving you the starting point. It might be giving you the end point or the midpoint. So, well, anyway, this has been a fun experiment, and we may even do some more because this was at least interesting to go through. So, hopefully, you got something out of this. If you skipped all the way to the end just to hear the conclusion, here's the conclusion. Don't use ChatGPT as your therapist. Go find a good, skilled therapist. But if you want to use it for some basic self-help stuff, that seems like okay. So thanks for hanging out with me for this little experiment. I'm Jonathan with Apex Counseling, and I will see you next time.